There are some investors out there, some of them who even watch this show, some of whom may even be in the chat right now, who have some serious concerns. Tesla isn't moving way too slow. Is it? Let's find out. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla weekend. Wrong button. As a reminder, this is the full version of the show on the second channel, or the condensed version on the main channel. It's whichever one you see on the screen. You know how that goes. Let me know if you can hear me. I hope you can. So yeah, when will the Cybertruck be available? So this was a video I did where I addressed a lot of the questions from the Say Technologies, Tesla Q2, earnings, potential shareholder questions. I went through them all. That's a great face I'm making there. And someone sent me a very long message on Patreon expressing concerns, frustrations, and venting. And it was good. And I wanted to stew on it a little bit before responding to it. And then when I went to respond, he had deleted the comment because, I don't know, just chose to. But I got permission to address it here instead. So, it's a long one. I can't argue with any of what you said. To my knowledge, it's all factually accurate. Not that I would expect less from you. So yeah, let's stay with the facts. That's where we win. However, that doesn't paint the whole picture. I call BS on them not thinking the demand for the Y would be so high. It's the best-selling class of vehicle. So the question really is, the background here is, where's my Cybertruck, Elon? Where's my Semi? Where's my Roadster? And I'd said, they're focusing on the Y because it's easier and they can build it. And he said, BS. They knew it was going to be the best-selling. They didn't need to change course to do that. And I would argue they didn't fully appreciate just how big it was going to be. Looks like I am topping out on the volume here. Let me adjust my volume real quick. Because that seems to be getting a little crunchy. There we go. I can do it a little bit better. There we go. That's probably better. It's the best-selling class of vehicle. The crossover SUV is the most popular form factor. Why wouldn't it be their best-selling car? Well, they're building it in 4 factories. I don't think they anticipated that. It's pretty rare for a car to be made in 4 factories. But they were caught off guard. Even in, this one's just about the right-hand drive market. But the demand for it has been better than they expected. And they expected it to be good. It is possible. Right now, it is already the best-selling SUV in China. And I saw one number that said it might be the best-selling car in China. Or at least it was in June. Outselling even that $5,000 Wuling Death Trap. That's a lot of units. On Next Big Future, he's asking, is it already the best-selling car in the world? And he's got some numbers to back it up. It could already have outsold the RAV4 and the Corolla, which would be a big deal. The best-selling car in the world by 2022. But yeah, where's my Cybertruck? Why can't we? Well, great. Tons of demand for that. Give me my Cybertruck too. Even if they didn't think it would get to where it was so quick, they've had 2 years to accelerate production. Yes, and they have. That's why Texas is making them in such big numbers, or hoping to, rather than starting with the Cybertruck like I thought they would. I mean, you've got a Model Y factory in Berlin, a Model Y factory in China, and a Model Y factory in Fremont. Do you really need a 4th one? Apparently the answer is yeah, I do. But the 50% year-over-year growth is something he's been guiding for all along. If you remember this interview, the day the stock went public, he had a car out there on Wall Street showing it off. And they said, how many units are you going to sell? And he's like, well, we'll be to 500,000 by 2020. And they're like, okay. They've always guided for roughly 20%, 50% year over year. I'm going to adjust my volume one more time here because I'm still peeking out the meters. That should be better. Better? Maybe. So if they're still growing according to their plans. Granted, Earth 2020 happened, but still, they've had plenty of time to dramatically increase production and find ways to ease the pressure. They seem to go slow in that regard. But 50% year over year is always the plan, and that's what they're doing. They may not be doing it with the model mix, the product mix that we expected, but they are doing it. I think, my speculation, is that Elon believed they would need to have more models in order to have 50% so far. Yes, the Cybertruck will take more batteries, but the margins, or supposed margins, on that vehicle will be much greater than the Y. Yes, and that's the problem. It's the supposed margins. We don't get to see behind that curtain. We don't know what the actual margins would be. Now, they could sell them at any price. With the backlog such as it is, with the fan base such as it is, with even no excuses, but there are legitimate excuses, they could sell them at any price they want. Is Elon Musk back in production hell with the 4680 battery? Yes. Yes, that seems to be the case. They're hoping to get 1,000 cars worth of 4680s out of Texas per week. Get enough 4680s to make 1,000 cars a week by the end of the year. I'm telling you right now, that does not sound like the original plan. So it's a difficult thing, I guess, making batteries. Panasonic struggled to ramp in Nevada, but they also weren't exactly planning on it. Elon said, I'm going to need this many batteries, and they said, uh-huh. And then he came in and said, okay, I'm here for my batteries, and they said, oh, wow, you were serious. Combined, the Y and Cybertruck could have been the 1-2 punch to cripple Legacy Auto. Legacy Auto needs to be put down, but instead they aren't building the capacity for the demand. I just want to address the crippling Legacy Auto. That's not my goal. I don't want them to die. I want them to evolve. As great as Tesla is today, which is also debatable, I don't want them to have a monopoly. I don't want them to be the car company of the world. I want them to be one of the car companies of the world. I want competition, and I believe Elon does too. So if Legacy can survive, I think that's a good thing. Maybe that helps. Yeah. So I think that's a good thing. What was the figure? 250,000 Cybertrucks out of Austin per year? Yes, but you have to know that that's not real. Because remember, Shanghai's output was stated at 450,000 combined up until the most recent quarter. Now we know in December they were already at a run rate of 900,000. And they only just now bumped it up to a more realistic figure. But Shanghai is still being retooled. So if the backlog's 1 million before it even ships, no way in hell is someone waiting 4+ years for a truck. They'll find another option. I agree. If what you need is a truck. Now let's remember that a lot of the reservations are from folks who put in 3 orders, or 10, or 50, or 100. Yes, there are people who put in 50 to 100 orders. Now, they're banking on robotaxi, or maybe they're planning to flip a bunch of them, but the one I saw, the interview I saw, the guy said, and this was on Brighter, the podcast with Tesla Herbert, the gentleman said, I don't even know how I would finance tens of millions of dollars of cars, but I'll try and find a way. So I don't know if the production backlog is as long as we think, but it may be. But even still, the capacity is not going to be 250,000 because these things will be built quickly. So in Shanghai, yeah, they're going to be able to produce, we believe, 3,000 a day after the line upgrade. 3,000 a day. That's far, far higher than what we believe from looking at the targets on the quarterly report. They should be building capacity for at least 1 million a year. And I really believe they are. Because it's such a simple design. It's elegant. It's straightforward. There's not many pieces to it. And it'll go together super, super quick. Yeah, animation's running a little slower than it was in my memory, but that's all right. They may not use all of that capacity at first, but the backlog won't be as big or the wait times as long. Plus, they could use the lines for other cyber vehicles, which we know are coming. Yes, but let's not announce any more vehicles until we get these ones handled. Our plate is so full of stuff, and we're already going back for seconds. Let's work on what we got. Again, not moving or planning for fast enough growth. Now, I'm still disagreeing with this because 50% year over year is the target. And I would be, if I was Tesla, I would be concerned that trying to grow exponentially at this stage could introduce big errors that don't need to be there. I haven't even touched on the Semi, with let's say 500,000 Ys coming out of Austin, 250,000 Cybertrucks, let's say an even million. Even with, as huge as that is, I think that would take up all the floor space. What's the plan for the Semi? Where are they building that at scale? So far, they've been onesie-twosieing them in Nevada, but they would need some space, but not a lot, because Volvo, who produces tens of thousands, North American orders rose to 25,000 trucks. Their factory is 1.6 million square feet in Virginia. 1.6 million square feet, quite big. But you got to remember, Giga Nevada is, if you were to build it there, there's tons of space available. But even in Giga Texas, that building is about, what did I say, 8-9 million square feet? There could be room in there for this, especially early on, but there's plenty of land nearby on the property. I also call BS on being cell constrained. That's never been true. Every single company they get cells from also sells cells to other companies at volume. And that is a very good point. That is a very good point. Now, you can't just buy 2170s off the shelf, but companies will make whatever you buy. So, you're right. If Ford and GM and Lucid and Rivian all have enough cells to get going, enough cells exist. So that's actually a very valid point. If they were serious, they could easily buy out the companies or their entire capacity for a set amount of time, but they didn't. They had that capability years ago, and more so today. Yeah, there's some logistical challenges there, and I can't address them directly. I don't know what they are. Yeah, Panasonic's building a new factory, again, in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. But what's exactly stopped them from expanding Nevada sooner or at all? It's easier to expand within the existing factory, especially when it's only about, a third complete? So Giga Nevada, as I understand, has run into staffing issues. The inability to attract. They've already tapped out the local market, and convincing people to move to Sparks can be difficult because, it's not nearly as big as it was intended to be. A third is probably about correct. But they've introduced efficiencies that have allowed them to reach their production objectives without a larger building. And granted, staffing may be an issue, but I imagine that being the case for Kansas too. And also, when is it actually coming online? And I believe the answer is mid-24 for the Panasonic line, but I'm not positive. Sparks, this is the most beautiful picture of Sparks I could find. It's lovely here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, lovely here. I've been there. Not so lovely. The weather's pretty miserable in the summer. Not so bad. Once you get past Labor Day, it gets a little bit more reasonable. You are in the high desert. But there are people who live in Kansas who would be willing to work in that part of the country, who may not be willing to go to Nevada. I trust Panasonic knows what they're doing when it comes to building factories. Doubling the size of Berlin is a joke. Scratch that, Berlin itself is a joke, or maybe it's Germany. I gave up trying to figure out where the problem there is, and I'm going to disagree. So, Berlin and Texas broke ground only a few months apart. April, May, June, July. 4 months apart. So Berlin broke ground 4 months earlier. But they had a very prolonged pandemic shutdown, and they were not able to build for quite a while. Really, their construction has been kind of neck and neck. And nobody would argue that Texas is too slow or bureaucratic. They knew what they were getting into. They knew how many I's needed to be dotted and T's to cross, and they did it. And so far, Berlin is outproducing Texas, which leads me to believe that's not the problem. And the factory is open. And famously, the Berlin airport took 20 years to build? It did not take 20 years to build in Germany for Giga Berlin. So Berlin's troubled Brandenburg Airport still in crisis a year after opening. Yeah, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Staffing shortages, pandemic challenges, all kinds of problems. But Tesla managed to navigate that. When it takes them literal months to pave a small parking area in Berlin, I don't want to know how long an actual expansion will take. Well, you know how long an expansion will take. You've seen them build the first part. One of the things that made the construction a little slower was the use of concrete for the pillars and beams rather than steel. Concrete is very heavy and difficult to work with compared to steel. But there are advantages. They do have the rail stub there, which they use for the main building, not so much for the 4680 expansion in the southeast corner. But still, it worked. And yeah, it can take them months to pave a parking area. But if the schedule says, if they say it's going to take us months, and you say, great, I've planned accordingly. As long as I know what I'm getting into, I can plan around it. The problem is when they say it'll take a week and then it takes 6 months. Then everything starts coming unraveled because you try and time things to work together. Either way, it's too slow for what they need. Sure, proceed with expansion there, but at the same time, they should be actively building several other factories to serve the European and African markets. And I agree. It feels like it is time to address the next Gigafactory outside of an established market. I don't think we're going to hear just yet. I hope we hear by the end of the year. I had a little visitor. Sorry. So in Africa's a very small car market. If you look at the list of top markets, it doesn't even make the list. As a continent, they don't sell many cars. North Africa, a little better, but it's not a big car market. But we do absolutely need to get more factories. Whew. They may not have other products ready to build now, but they can prep the new factories for current and future models and products. And I would advise caution with this approach, because if they had done that in Shanghai, what we would have gotten was a bunch of extra factories that look like this. That's not what Tesla uses anymore. This was great. This Model 3 line has been great, but they've got problems now because they can't go vertical on that space. There are efficiencies they're unable to tap into. And if they had just built a bunch of new factories or new phases that look like that, hello, Wua, love your work. If they had done that, we'd have a bunch of inefficient factories. We need to get past inefficient factories. We've got enough of those. Honestly, I know it's not a smart move, but they should put more of their eggs in the Chinese basket. Maybe spread it out to other parts of China, though. If they 4 to 5x the current factory there, and while logistics could cost more, I think exporting from there to Europe would have been a smarter move. We'll all see speed and eagerness. Yeah. China's tricky. China can get political. China is an absolute powerhouse for manufacturing. We do know that they're planning an expansion in Shanghai that should double the output. That gets you halfway to this hope. But diversifying around the world, to me at least, seems valuable. So I wanted to thank you for this wonderful email that raised a lot of good questions that I was able to think about for, 2 weeks, week or two? I enjoyed it. Charlie's visiting Seattle and have heat issues here, but your thermometer made my heat seem calm. So Charlie, I'm not far from you. What do we got there? Getting close to 90. Pretty unpleasant in here. That's why the fan is running. Yeah, Charlie's in Seattle. Neat. So why don't we see if I got one more thing? Actually, apparently I'm really jaded and didn't even realize it. Rant over. Good night. Hey man, we all got to do it sometimes. We all got to do it when it makes sense. So thanks, of course, to my patrons. We will momentarily here jump into the Q&A hole where all the Q's get A'd. How many factories does the F-150 have? Quite a few. Quite a few. They're in different states, I believe, but I want to say they have 3 or 4 different factories for the F-150. The problem is that Ford and GM built a supply chain that every car maker uses, including Tesla. And if either goes bankrupt, the parts companies might fail as well. Oh, yeah, imagine that. That would be terrible. That would actually, yeah, if you can't get, that would have a knock-on effect up the chain. Yeah, Tesla's making hay while the sun is shining. Yeah, they're making more Ys than they thought they would. And they know how to make them, and quickly, and reasonably quickly, reasonably well, reasonably profitably. I'm interested to see what the margins will look like once cars coming off lease are no longer being sold for as much as new. I have a friend who just ordered from Tesla a 2018, I think it's a Model 3, with 93,000 miles on it, and Tesla's selling it for $46,000. That's good margin, man. That's good margin. Let's see what we got. Oh yeah, good on time. Good on time. Jeff has one Cybertruck ordered. Gonna get my Model X sooner than in a year. Cybertruck should start building out. Yeah, Jeff, we talked about that. You have a pretty good reservation number, as I recall. I have Tesla Austin in 25 to be at a 750,000 run rate. That seems reasonable to me, if a bit low. I looked at your video on that, Matt, and it was, I liked it. It was interesting to see where our numbers are the same and where they're different. And at first I looked at it and I was like, oh, these numbers, no, they're fine. They're fine. Yeah. What quality of 2170s? Yeah. Yeah. We can't build the Cybertruck without the Cybertruck philosophy. Could we do it with split front and rear castings like early Model Ys? Yes, but we need to do it right the first time. Well, could we do it with not 4680s, but other batteries? Yeah. I mean, the prototype used, I'm assuming, an uncorked 100D, 100 kilowatt hour battery. But we need those things. Those things are integral for it to work. Do I think Tesla has already purchased land for the new factory announcements? I don't know where you would hide it on the balance sheet if you did. They may be in contract to buy it, but I don't know. Mark, thank you for the super chat. 88 degrees, but outside with a breeze. This Northwest no AC thing sure is fun. I don't have AC. I do not have it. It's, yeah. Will Giga Berlin have staffing issues too? I don't know what the employment market is like in Berlin, but I assume it's like everywhere, very tight. I would suspect the answer is no, because because famously Tesla gets more applicants than there are positions, which is a very unique and wonderful problem to have. When do I see Tesla reaching investment grade credit rating? They're soon, man. They gotta do it soon. Like any day, right? It's ridiculous. And I have to say, suspicious. It's like how they weren't included in the S&P 500 for so freaking long. It made no sense. And for those of us who have mutual funds, I have Triple Q, the index fund that tracks the S&P 500. I missed out on that 20x. Yeah, it would have been a small slice of the pie, but I'd have got it. Imagine a $1,000 alternator for a Toyota Camry after the parts factories close or transition to just making other stuff. Oh, yeah. That's some Mad Max stuff there. I'm wondering how to finagle an Austin-made Model Y into Phoenix. Heard a story once about picking up from Atlanta. Interesting. Apparently Daimler is laying off lots. Cybertruck production needs to be built at a good margin, is what John says. And I agree, they have to. They need to do it right, and do it right the first time, really. Do you think FSD will be put on hold to build AI for Tesla bot? Oh, I hope not. My understanding is that solving AI for vehicles is integral to solving it for robots. And I hope so, because you've got a cajillion dollars worth already sold. You need to deliver. Better to buy before they become investment grade. Yeah. When it becomes investment grade, a lot of pensions and mutual funds that previously couldn't touch it will be eligible to, and some of them will. Some of them still won't, but some of them will. My Charge Tesla says buying land under a different LLC name is one way to mask a land purchase. Absolutely. That's what Walt did in Disney World, is had all these dummy companies buying up land. But it would still show up on the balance sheet, wouldn't it? I mean, it would, right? But, 100 million here, 100 million there. Pretty soon you're talking about real money. Jeff is really eager to get the next full self-driving. Well, guys, I think we made it. I think we got through it. I did want to say, again, thank you for this wonderful email. It pushed me to think about the answers and think about whether or not I was happy with where it was at. And yeah, I appreciated it. And I appreciate all you guys. This is what we do. This is our Friday nights, baby. We're old people. My kids, they go, when they were little, they said, is going to the store your idea of fun? And I was like, yeah, because it's the only place I get to go. And now that they're adults, they're like, I get it. You're in the house, there's nothing to do. Let's go to the store. And even if we're just there to enjoy the air conditioning, we gotta do it. Do it like WeWork. Elon, buy the land and then sell it to Tesla for a huge profit. Is that what they were doing? Oh, that's awful. Yeah, if I had a Tesla, you and your family could go out to the air-conditioned car for the night. Yeah, slap it in camp mode. Be comfortable. No, I think we're going to sleep in the basement tonight. Yeah, thanks, David. I appreciate the sentiment. Yeah, it was. I think it was a pretty good discussion. So we're right at that time-ish. Close enough, anyway. A rounding error, if'ns you will. So what did I miss? What did I misunderstand? Leave it in them comments. You know the drill. Enjoy your weekend, guys. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. The CEO did it with the trademark name. Oh. So he trademarked the name and then leased the name to the company? Oh. Greenpad correctly points out no one in Washington has air conditioning. And I assume that's not true. I know my neighbors do, because I hear it kick on, and nothing stops a train. But it is rare. It is rare. I don't think I have ever lived in a home that had air conditioning in the Northwest. No. Yeah. Oh, I missed your reply on the number of Ford factories. Okay. Well, movie theater for air conditioning. Yeah, maybe it is Morbin time. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. And, all that good stuff.